I hold the lawyers in all of this to a higher standard than I hold Erika to, because at the end of the day, she's not the lawyer in this case. His son-in-law is, his brother is. There are other lawyers in this, and there's still stuff going on in Illinois in that Edelson PC, not just the Edelson PC case, but the underlying Boeing case with Lion Air. There are still contempt hearing going on for two of the attorneys from Girardi Keese, and I'm interested to see what information comes out of there. Those got put over a little bit because they're saying, hey, we don't have the financial records. We can't even defend ourselves because we don't know what Tom was doing either. So if the lawyers in his law firm, one of who's related to him, being his son-in-law, if they're going to court and saying under oath, we didn't know what was going on, I don't know how I can sit anywhere with a straight face and say, but yet Erika did. You know, I'm still waiting for more information.
I mean, that makes sense. So like best case when this is over, I'm not best case, but for Erika, let's just, for her best case, it's over and she walks away and works and just starts over with her Beverly Hills housewife salary.
Yep.
And then what is the worst case? That she knew a lot and then what? Jail time is a real
the worst case is that I think the worst case is that the IRS goes after a criminal prosecution, but we know that Tom's been referred to investigation from the judge in Illinois. And if I think criminally investigating him at this point for the theft from clients and the embezzlement is going to be difficult based on the conservatorship. So I think that that might be a non-starter of an investigation. I cannot see them. And I mean, never say never, but it would be unusual for the, AUSAs to go after Erika as an aider and abetter and not be able to go after Tom because of his mental state. So I think that the IRS is probably the biggest concern. Those can have very real criminal penalties, and that some of it will hinge on what she knew. If it doesn't become a criminal thing, then you can still owe quite a lot of money. I don't think Erika comes out of this unscarred. I don't. I think she's going to have a pretty big financial crater. That's just my speculation. But I also think she could get out of this without having, life and liberty taken away, and she will still be able to work. And if Bravo likes her and if Andy likes her, we've seen them bend over backwards for Teresa. You could see them do that for her, particularly because the ratings this season, it seems, have been so good. People are very invested in either hate watching her or curiosity or spectacle or watching the train wreck. People are very invested and would watch. If they did an Erika Tells All after, she's not going to do one now because everybody's documenting every damn thing she says. But down the road after this resolves, if she does a tell all of us are going to fucking watch it. Bravo knows that.
Bravo knows that. The ratings on 98% of the things are not so good anymore. This had a good season. This in Potomac, The ratings are doing good. And Jersey had decent ratings last season. That's about it. Everything else was down. So we'll
see how Salt Lake does.
It's doing like the same so far, which isn't great. It's not great.
No, because they started out strong with being like, hey, we have federal agents arresting people while filming. They started out big.
Well, that's my point. Like, why is no one people just want to talk about, I can tell you my listeners right now, I could talk about anything. It's like people want to just talk about Erika all the day.
Why do you think that is that people don't want to talk about Jen Shah?
It's so funny because when you come back and we do our Jen Shah talk, I'm going to ask you about that, but it doesn't feel the same, does it? It doesn't feel the same to me.
The vitriol towards Erika on social media, and maybe it's her behavior on social, but Jen Shah hasn't been a peach on social either. And Jen Shah is the one who did the thing. Like Jen Shah is the one who she did the thing. I mean, there is something to me inherently unlikable about Jen Shah. I'm going to put that out there. There's something inherently unlikable about her too, which is why when we talk all about Jen Shah and that whole thing, people are her behavior, like on social, she's posting Gucci and this, and that's not much better. I don't think and she's flaming after Meredith's kid. I mean, she has not been as brazen. I mean, she wasn't a Fenty ambassador as Erika, but also I think it's kind of bullshit to be like, oh, she's splayed out in lingerie. I mean, her comments didn't help, but also like, I'm not liking watching this with Britney Spears either. She has posted some nudes on Instagram. She's definitely showing a bit more of her body, and people are like, oh, see, she's crazy. I'm like, let's just dial that back a minute. Britney's free of her father. she's gonna do what she wants to do, and Erika's gonna do what she wants to do. So I think the comparison with the showing her body is a little misogynistic to me, but her comments, her captions were horrible. And Jen Shaw's had some bad captions too. Really bad.
I don't think, I mean, that's why to me, neither Erika, well, Jen Shaw to me, it seems like does not realize the severity of what is possibly to come in her life. Like when like we've talked about this before, like when the feds come and pull a van, like they're not just, this is like, you're not walking away. There's evidence, sweetie. Like the feds do not waste their time.
No, Jen doesn't seem to appreciate gravity. Erika seems to appreciate that her life is crumbling. Jen seems to be like, what? This is my business. Why is this a big deal? Everybody's just, why are you all bullying me? I mean, it's a very interesting tack to take. I'm innocent. Y'all are stupid. Fuck off is what Jen Shaw's defense seems to be right now. Yeah. My contacts were dry.
And Erika's, I don't know, Erika's so cold. It's almost like that's why there are times where I'm like, does Erika know? Like, is she so innocent that she's just like, bring it on, but I'm not worried because I know the truth will prevail and I did nothing. And like the truth always sets you free. I don't know. Sometimes Erika is so stoic that I'm like, I mean, she has to deal with what's going on around her, but she's just like, once I get through this, it'll be interesting when this is, I mean, what the timeline do you think? I mean, are we looking at like Erika's, this is going to be going on for 3 years, 5 years, 2 years?
I mean,
6
I don't
months?
think this is going to be fast by any means, especially if her attorneys are waiting for a global settlement, including other things, including, IRS or potential franchise tax board debts that she and her husband might have owed, or that the law firm might owe, or that her business might owe, because it seems that Tom was doing the taxes for her businesses as well. So it could take some time because they're moving in this bankruptcy, but there's still open cases to wrap up. There's still settlements to wrap up. So this could take some time. I don't know if we're going to know the end of this for at least a year. I mean, if it's faster than that, I'll be pleasantly surprised, but there's a lot of components to it.
It'll be interesting. Unlike Atlanta, which we still don't have a cast for, unlike New York, which I can tell you, I know people that have been contacted in New York. If it takes a month, so be it. If it takes 9 months, so
yeah.
New York it's going to be like remember like back in the day, it was 2 weeks. You had your cast. Wait, you're like not interested next. No more people, not with something. I think Beverly Hills, the rumor I heard is that it's going to be 2 to 3 weeks. Contracts will be out and everything will be signed. I imagine they're keeping the same cast. I mean, technically this was a first year cast because we had like Crystal and Kathy, which like they can do that for 1 or 2 seasons without changing the cast. I think
they can, because people want to see, this feels like a part 1 of a movie and people want to see the part 2. I think if they changed up the cast, people would feel unresolved because we've got a big cliffhanger at the end in real life too. And we want them to pick up cameras and start filming. And we know they did that with Salt Lake, right? They're like, we're rushing production because these are going to be the franchises that kind of carry us through the next year or two.
They're going to rush it, especially when, I mean, again, I'm not so convinced New York is coming back. I will stand by that. I think the longer it is off the air, listen, once you don't have a reunion, my antennas went up and I'm like, and I had Ebony on my show this past Monday or like as
love Ebony. I really enjoyed Ebony
Let me tell
so
you,
much this season.
You would love her. First of all, this was her second time on, but from the first minute she was on my show and I told her I was a lawyer, which mind you, I don't use that. I don't think that gets me anything. I mean, I'd rather be able to tell you I had Carol Baskin on my show today. That gets me something.
I mean,
right? But as soon as I said that to Ebony, there was just this thing with me. Like I always say, I don't like, you don't read what goes on. Like I just judge you based on when you're in front of me. And like, it was like counselor and like Ebony just treated me as if I were an equal. Not that I'm not, but it just was this like quit. You would love her.
Yeah. I like Ebony quite a lot. I enjoy listening to her podcast. I enjoyed her very much on the show. But again, with lawyers, when you can see the way they're thinking, and you're like, no, Ebony's logic makes sense to me. And the way we have conversations makes sense to me. When things don't make sense to me, I get confused. When other lawyers do things that are kind of outside of kind of what logically makes sense to me, I'm like, huh.
Well,
okay.
Let me tell you, you and me and maybe 3 other people listening, like Ebony. I like her.
I do too.
Lots of hate when it comes my way when she's on, but I don't understand it either. I the same thing you just said. I understand our volley. I understand our back and forth. She will say like, I am making this statement for this question, what you asked is not a blanket statement about this, that. And I'm like, I totally get that. And she really is. I like someone who says, this is my opinion. I'm okay if you don't agree. You can tell me why you don't agree. Go ahead. But this is, I love that. I don't know why. I don't understand all the hate that was directed towards this season of Roni. I really don't. I mean, I get it. I do get what people are saying. I didn't hate it as much as everyone else. That's just me.
Which is, really, I mean,
I don't know why it was so bad. Like, what was so different? It was just a different season. That's all. Like, I don't know.